Hello, my friend. I'm so happy to have you for this episode of the Enneagram and Marriage podcast. Really thankful for today's episode on using the let them principle to strengthen your relationships. So geeked out because so many of you I know have been talking with me in the collective and otherwise about the Mel Robbins book and the whole let them theory. And if you haven't heard of it, this is your warning. You're going to hear about it all episode and probably from now this point forward. You will continue hearing about it everywhere you go because that's certainly the way I have experienced this is first reading and then seeing it everywhere. So I have loved this journey of using this alongside my Enneagram work. And I thought, let's bring it to everybody else too. So it's basically for you if you've ever felt like you're wishing your spouse or family members would change behaviors, habits. And in this week's episode, we're going to talk about how Mel Robbins' simple but powerful let them principle can transform your relationship. And now she has the number one podcast. So, guys, she is going places with this. I feel that Mel has a very practical 8-ish personality. I've not heard her talk about her type. If you guys have heard that, I would love to hear. But learning to truly and accept each other and let people do what they need to do takes some thought, practice, and even some nitty gritty. So I highly recommend the book for a deeper dive. And I really want to emphasize that sometimes you can't let them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today at the end, too. But just for a precursor, there's so much more digging you can do there. And we're just bringing some Enneagram to it. You know, I love integrative theories. And so this is us doing a little integration. And hopefully you'll continue exploring on your own so that you can nuance even further for you and your family to understand, have compassion, harmony as a couple. And yes, not control your spouse, which really I was talking to a couple of friends today and I was saying, you know what? This seems to be the revolving 2025 message on this podcast is not controlling your spouse. And we've done episodes in the past years on this, but I just feel like this theme continues to find us this year. And I don't know if you feel that way too. Tell me if you do. But the theme I was planning for, my planning fixation was a deeper dive. And we're doing some of that too. And we're doing our marriage minutes and we're having our guests share some of their lightning round fun facts with us. But this year, we also are just allowing ourselves the space to do our work and let our spouse be who they are too. So that's been a cool and surprising theme that's continued to show up. And I want to, before we get into the Mel Robbins podcast topic, I want to invite you to a deeper dive with me, both in the Zoom avenue, but also in a deep dive way in our work together. And that is, you'll see in the show notes, my Enneagram and Relationship Intensive. I'm so thankful that we're getting this chance to not only work together on a podcast level, but if you're feeling like you need coaching, then we can work together in a social manner as well. This is also a year for social for me. I have been doing so much teaching out in the world. Also, my church just asked Wes and I to teach, and they said, so many people here love your marriage. We'd love to see you guys share. And I just feel like that sense of, ooh, this is my topic. This is what I do love sharing. And so, in addition to the wonderful experiences I get with just the one-to-one couples, I am looking for a small group of people, just a handful who would also like to go through a 6-week relationship intensive with me over Zoom, where we deepen your love and intimacy together. So, I really want to make sure I keep it small, but I am so excited to keep the depth as well. So if you're looking for what would it be about, week 1 is from escape to embrace, finding out what each of your triggers are for escaping when you're super stressed and also helping you to lean in together. Huge. Week 2 is from criticism to connection. We all know we can be relationship perfectionists and learning what are the ways that we back off from that. Wes and I have had so much training on this with each other being two idealists, and it's been such a joy to learn how to not do that and even watch and self-correct as we do it. Week 3, deep healing for deep wounds, allowing ourselves to recognize when we have a deeper dive issue that really needs attention, what we can do. Week 4, we're going to be talking about practical pathways to intimacy so that you can find your ways to, yes, intimacy on a friendship level and on a deep conversation level, but also really in your sexual life as well, which is important. And week 5, boundaries with love, learning how to set clear limits with others and each other as needed. And also week 6, integration and growth, where we're learning how to take the practical things you've learned, although we're going on an emotional deep dive too, to really bring it home with you. That's my deepest desire. Plus, I am also giving you a chance to have a one-to-one session with me in addition to the small group setting and creating a blueprint for your relationship pairing exactly that will be more detailed and nuanced. So I'm so excited. Please check it out in the show notes if you'd like to become part of that. We're starting on February 25th. And again, small group of people because I can't create a relationship blueprint for everybody. But I definitely love the small group setting just in the way of when a few people come in, there's just a lot of chances for processing. Whereas if it's a really large group, everybody just gets a very small taste and we have to go so general. And I've had that before with one of my Valentine's trainings a couple of years ago, and it was super fun, but we were so light. So I'm looking for deeper dives with you. I hope you're interested, and thanks for listening. Go ahead to the show notes. Now we can get into our Let Them episode. So, you've heard a little bit about the let them theory from me, but I'll remind you that in addition to you learning how to let people live their lives and let people not affect you as much, we still have to always remember within the attachment world, we will affect each other in some ways. So, what we'll try to do within that context is say, what can I do when I feel dysregulated? What can I do when I want to do something to shift my spouse because I feel like I'm out of control? And that's really huge. And the first thing I think we need to look at when we're looking at that is what's called the control paradox. And it's a paradox I see a lot in relationships where the more you try to control your partner because you feel dysregulated, the more they naturally pull away. And the more they pull away, the harder you try to control, creating a cycle that takes you further away from the connection and intimacy you want when you're feeling at your worst. Also, think about it for yourself. When was the last time somebody tried to change you and you probably resisted? Because when, somebody comes up against you and they're like, you need to change, you need to shift, I don't like what you're doing, you have that natural just defensiveness as a person. So whether you're a heart type, and we'll get into these types a little more, but like on a basic first dive here. If you're a heart type, you manage your emotions so carefully and their emotions too, that they can stop sharing authentically. If you're a head type, you could plan every detail so thoroughly that your partner loses the ability to take initiative. And if you're a body type, you control the environment sometimes so completely that your partner can feel like a guest in your own home. So here's the fascinating truth. Control is actually fear in disguise. And when we try to change our partner, we're usually trying to manage our own, like I said, self-soothing issues, fear of rejection, fear of chaos, fear of loss, fear of inadequacy. And as a marriage minute to throw in here with this, today I had that moment where I had a busy day with the boundaries that I was hoping to get regulation in. And I kept having people from the extended family say that they had emergencies and they felt like emergencies to them. As I processed through the day, I realized they were weighing on me and they weren't really emergencies, but they had issues and I couldn't solve them all in the middle of working with my own family and my own clients and the structure I needed for self-soothing. So I was tempted to throw it at Wes and say, hey, Wes, thinking he's probably on his lunch break right now. Let me just dump. Let me just vent. And that's a way I could have controlled. But what I instead did was I realized that he was probably very busy with his patients, very, very busy. And I said, I think we both need a meme. I think that we just need something light. And so I allowed myself to realize there's another solution here. These are not our issues. These are other people's issues. We both have a lot of that every day. So why don't I give some lightness? And I just actually said to him, hey, I've had a lot of extras today. Can you throw me a couple memes when you get a chance? And he sent me three funny ones and another one later tonight because he's really like a meme person and that's not usually my thing. But it was so good for me to see that he was so receptive, so happy to cheer me up, so loving. And then I sent him one back, which was so funny. It said me dissociating, and it was like an older woman on a swing just going round and round and round. And it's just like made me laugh so hard. And I want you to know it doesn't have to be that, but we have to find ways to pivot versus controlling and trying to make our partner feel the dysregulation with us. And then we're both in a downward spiral. And instead, you have to be able to take that pivot and stop and say, hold on, don't get into the resistance loop. So I'm going to explain a little bit more about those resistance loops and remind you the more we try to change others, the more they resist. Pushing creates pushback, and how control masks our own fears. And how the heart types can do this, I'll get a little specific here, is twos can overhelp to control connection. Threes can image manage to control perception. And fours can use emotional intensity to control the depth. Now, oh my gosh, it's almost limiting for me to give those as these blanket statements. So just understand you're going to have to do a little digging. If you want to get deeper, you can, like I said, read the book. These are my extrapolations from the book, but they're also Enneagram specific. So she doesn't talk about Enneagram at all. So you have to look at this and say, what can I parse out that's for me? Maybe I'm a two wing three and I realize the two and the three both apply to me, or these other facets. So that was your over analysis there, but now we're going to keep going through the head triad. The fives have knowledge gathering to control uncertainty. The sixes have worst case scenario planning to control the safety. And the sevens use constant motion to control pain. And then the body triad, eights can use direct force to control vulnerability. Nines can use merging to control conflict. And ones can use correction to control imperfection. So I'm going to give some tips for each of you now, too, because I know you're like, oh my gosh, I was feeling excited when you told me that you and Wes learned some things. And now you've just depressed me again. Don't worry, I've got you. We're going to bring you back up, but we have to give the bad news first sometimes so that we can come back up, guys. So trust me on that. I will not stay down for too long, as you know, as a seven. I literally know this, but I have learned, as you just read through the types, that I could skip and do the emotional bypass. So I didn't want to do that here. We have to do our work. Okay. So the heart type journey is to notice when you're managing others' feelings. So if you're that two, three, or four, owning your own emotional landscape. This is my work to do. I can't control everybody's emotions. Express your needs directly and get your self-care. Sometimes people can meet those needs, sometimes they can't. Allow natural connection versus forced or manipulated. And even allow a journal moment in your life where you get to share your emotions. Have a self-care checklist. What are my tools in my toolbox? And allow for connection without fixing, just noticing yourself, just relating versus relating by helping. And that could be the two, three, or four. Now, the head type path looks like releasing the mental hypervigilance that we just do as head types, trusting our journey, following our curiosity, allowing natural wisdom versus planned overthinking wisdom, allowing the overthinking release, which you did hear me say I did with Wes. Like there's no point to rehash. Sometimes you just need a real good laugh. Present moment anchors, grounding, allowing yourself action over analysis. And a great grounding exercise is the 5-4-3-2-1. Some of you have heard of that one. You can look that up if you haven't. I don't want you to get lost in head types, but just allowing grounding, basically looking at your surroundings, smelling, allowing yourself to notice taste, allowing yourself to notice textures, those kinds of things. All right. So the body type growth is loosening physical control, trusting your instincts more, honoring your boundaries, allowing natural flow, physical release practices, just sighing, breath work, pausing, boundary setting exercises, and imperfection acceptance. This group can be so perfectionistic, so high on the accuracy charts. It's not even funny. And you're allowed to make mistakes. Everyone does. And you have God's grace. If you're a person of faith, I receive that with you. And I need it too sometimes. Now, those are just tips for each of you in each of those centers. And you can continue to grapple with those and really pause to say which one of those is the biggest for me. So just think on that for a moment. Let yourself think back on what we just talked about and say, which one of these seems like something I need to do? It might be the journaling or allowing some curiosity or allowing yourself to trust your instincts more. You can rewind if you need to. And now I'm going to just really give a general freedom formula. And again, you can find this part in the Mel Robbins book too, but basically you're identifying your pattern and you're naming your control triggers. You're saying, what is my trigger? Maybe it's when somebody changes my plans. Maybe it's when somebody pulls away. And just notice and recognize your go-to response. I dig in deeper here. I push harder or I withdraw. Something about your attachment style. What do you do? And then allow yourself a moment to name your fear. And this is where let them comes in is you release the responsibility for them. And you say there may be little things I need to do. This is a family member, etc., or my spouse. But letting them means I'm not taking responsibility for all of their stuff. Their growth belongs to them. Their boundaries need to be set by them. I can give a few ideas sometimes, not always. Their feelings are theirs. Their path is their choice. And I can set my boundaries around what I can do and want to do and feel like is mine to do. And that will help you to allow for the let them versus, oh my gosh, I have to fix everybody. Then that also frees you up to focus on your path. Just as you heard me say in my big busy day, once I cleared away this obligation to fix everybody, what needs my attention? Where am I avoiding growth? What makes me come alive? These are questions to ask yourself so that you don't get lost in somebody else's junk. So, when you're in that space again, these are great tips for you. And if you just need to slow down, like I do at least once or twice a day, do the hand on the heart check in. Just allow yourself to do some breath prayers. Simple. Just, thank you, God. That simple. Or if you want to create something in and out, you can do that too. I breathe in the stress I've carried, and now I breathe it all out to you, God. I remember that you're God. I'm breathing. I'm just remembering you're the breath of life. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just something simple that comes to mind right then that is peaceful and loving, even if it's just the word breathe. Oh, it feels so good to get to walk through all of this with you. I'm going to give you a moment right now before we end to truly just pause and make that decision to let them a little more. You've heard me say, when we push, when we control, it does not serve our partner, it does not serve us. And it does not give anyone creative options for their life either. It just gives them that sense of you're going to fix them. They might as well not do their work. And now you're stressed and you're in a tizzy and you're dysregulated and you're feeling out of control. So giving them permission to own themselves as an adult, giving yourself permission to self-regulate and to help in only the ways that feel wise to you. It's going to be a huge gift. I hope you'll read Mel's book. If you are looking for a deeper dive in your marriage, if you just know you need more and you want some personal attention to your pairing and your situation, whether it be intimacy issues, you're recovering from an affair, something else that you just don't want a lot of people hearing about. This is a very small group. So I hope you'll check out the relationship intensive starting up soon. I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's weekend and you're able to use these great tools to get out of the muck and mess that you can get in sometimes, get out of those weeds and have a great time. I hope you get a super great time. I am going to be going and watching Melody, my 9, go really beautifully dance. She already did so last weekend. This weekend, I'm going to watch her again with her gorgeous piece. I actually put it on the Enneagram and Marriage YouTube page because I was trying to save it for some friends. So you can find it there if you want to watch her dance too. So beautiful. She does it to the Sleeping at Last song, Arctic. Cannot wait to watch her again in front of those judges. And I know that she is going to knock it out of the park. So I hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.